Who am I, you ask? I was created in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the waste of a dying world. I was bestowed with an insurmountable task: bring peace after decades of death, persecution, and chaos. I am a grandchild of war, destined to help two camps which hate has fueled for far too long. Surprisingly, I am not alone. Have an odd bunch to make the road a little more bearable. Come with me, to bring hope where there was despair, respect where there was resentment, creativity where there was destruction. I am Pinocchio, and this is my story.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Geek-men and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. I'm Dustin.
And I am Derry.
Yes, indeed.
Rock on.
Bayak. Get my little... Mountain Dew Baja Blast
God damn it. Here, I got my refillable half-gallon of water.
Right. Yeah, I've been saving that all day, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to save this for the podcast, and I'll crack it open then.
Well, I went to the store earlier today, and they had Mountain Dew on sale. Well, Pepsi products, buy one, get one free on 12 packs. Sons of bitches had everything but Baja Blast, so I had to get regular Mountain Dew. But
good grief. See, I'm so upset that when I only see Mountain Dew, I won't even buy it. If it's not a special flavor, I won't even buy it. That's how mad I am.
Well, I still really like regular Mountain Dew, but I do prefer the other flavors.
Yeah. I mean, for me, they took away Spark, which is my favorite, and then they took away Pitch Black, which is my other favorite, and it's just like, what are you doing to me?
So, crazy idea just popped in, and it has something to do with what you put in the chat earlier tonight. We need a Mountain Dew ranking scale.
A Mountain Dew ranking scale.
Oh, yeah. Each flavor is tied to like a different rating of like a movie, and then we certify them, slap that label right on it. This is Baja Blast, baby. Best movie ever created. Which would not be probably either of the two movies we're talking about tonight.
I don't know.
Not best movie ever created.
Oh, yeah. Best, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get where you go with that.
One of these might be like a Code Red for me.
Yeah.
But the other one was like toilet water.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get into that. But
yeah,
I wasn't a huge fan.
Well, all right. So we'll get into that later. First of all, did you get anything in the mail, in the box?
So I actually went backwards and I actually sold stuff and had to ship it out this week. So
Oh,
I've got a corner over here in my room that's just stacked up with stuff still in the box. It's actually between, I have like two big bookcases with glass doors on them,
yeah.
which are two of my toy shelves. And then I have a detolf
Yeah.
kind of turned against the next wall. So there's this space in the corner. And
Mm.
dude, that shit's usually like stacked like 8 feet tall with either stuff I'm waiting to unbox, stuff that
Oh,
I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I keep waffling if I'm going to keep it, stuff I know I'm not going to keep.
yeah.
So I ended up moving on some McFarlanes
What's up, Pops?
that I had been sitting on for a while. There was some Valaverse stuff there that I had
Yeah.
doubles of. I ended up selling it. And then there was some I'm trying to think what the hell, there was another line and I can't even think of it right now that I sold a few pieces to. Oh, it was wrestling figures that I had bought and they were like characters that I wasn't sure I was going to keep.
Yeah.
So I let those go because I typically like wrestling stuff. I'm only shooting for like the late 90s WCW to early 2000s WWF, like the stuff I grew up watching.
Yeah.
After the Stone Cold era, probably I was pretty much done at that point
Yeah.
with wrestling. I mean, I'll still go back and if it's on TV, watch it though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fun as hell. But yeah, but no, I didn't get anything. But I did bring two things that I figured I would talk about.
Okay.
Because one of them is a pre-order that I just got in on, and you've
Nice.
actually talked to this company multiple times.
Uh-oh.
Here it is. I'll share my screen.
All right.
So these
Oh, yeah.
the Conan figures went up for pre-order from Super 7.
Yeah.
I will tell you, when I very first got back into toy collecting, which really wasn't until like end of 2019, uh,
Mm-hmm.
I had still kept a lot of pieces from my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
but I hadn't collected anything between, probably 95 and 2019. So, uh, like people just dogged Super 7 on a lot of the podcasts and stuff that
Yeah.
you listen to, that I listen to. And I mean, what I guess there could have been legitimate concerns back then, but literally I'm into turtle ultimates.
Yep.
I'm into not as deep as you in Thundercats, but
Yeah.
then I like the band stuff with the different
Yeah.
singers and stuff. And then like these Conan figures in Cole, like freaking awesome looking, I think.
I'm curious if you zoom in on that, does it show that they have any kind of new articulation at all? Go back
Um,
to the other picture.
this one
Uh,
here,
yeah. No, the other one.
that one.
Oh yeah. Yes, see, if you zoom in on that right arm, it looks like it might have the newer articulation that they came up with for the turtles.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
No, I don't know. I
I
can't
can't really
tell.
see my turtles because they're up on a dark shelf right now. But I mean, and I'm somebody. I saw this meme the other day,
Yeah.
and it was, as the more articulation means the worse the figure looks, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And there's two camps, and there's people who want sculpt, and there's people who want articulation. Because I'm telling you right now, some articulation really does fudge up a figure.
Yeah.
And I'm not somebody who is posing and reposing all the time. Like, it's more of showpieces for me. So, like, if McFarlane wants to put them in their iconic pose from the comic,
Yeah. You're down for that.
that's I'm good with that because I'm not, taking it down all the time. And I mean, I'll pose and repose when I'm like cleaning and stuff, but I
Yeah.
mean, when I was a kid, nothing moved, and I was just like banging them together. So what the hell
Right.
do I care about articulation? So I'm more of a sculpt person, and I want the figure to look good versus having all kinds of crazy articulation. So when people bring up that argument, I'm really in the camp of, man, I really just want the figure to look good.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I'm
I
not,
agree with that.
and what really kills me is people that want articulation, but yet they're men on card collectors.
Oh God.
Like, what the hell do you care about
Why?
articulation? It's staying in a package. Like, you have a commitment issue.
Yeah.
Because we know everybody who collects mint on card has problems with commitment, probably
Right.
deep-seated childhood trauma or something
Right.
that they never got over, and now they
Yep.
can't commit to their toys. And so, I mean, just own them, guys. Just rip those packages open and just
Heck
own
yeah.
them. Play with them.
Heck yeah. I mean,
But
that's
I'm
what I do with
excited
mine.
about these. Like,
Doop, doop,
I
doop,
thought these were
doop,
beautiful
doop.
figures. I love the packaging on
Yeah.
this one. Like, that's cool. Yeah, like, when I saw these, I was like, "Boom, done, pre-ordered." I had to.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think they've got editions of them where you can get them separately. This is the 2-pack.
Yeah.
I think it's like, let's see here. What is it? It's 110 pre-order, which I mean is right in line with 2 of these figures. I
Right.
mean, it's literally just you're getting 2 figures and 2 boxes, and it's right in line with the normal price. But
Well, and
yeah,
that mentions a super pack. What comes in the super pack? Have they
um,
announced that yet?
so here's the individual figures, and
Mhm.
then where does it say the super pack? This
I think
here?
you have to scroll through the pictures.
Let's see here. 'Cause that's just I don't know, I'd have to probably do a little more research in it.
There, that's the super pack.
Oh, so you get the bloody weapons? That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have Conan, he's been killing things, and you're
But
gonna
some
want
people might not want them to be bloody all the time, so
True.
that's why they have the
Yeah.
regular weapons. That's a good addition.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I pre-ordered the pack. I didn't even So, I always get made fun of because I have problems reading things. Like, Eric Bertram always makes fun of me because I don't read instructions in video games and all this shit. Like, that was on there the whole time. Like, you noticed it, I didn't notice at all. I just ordered it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. So
That's
but,
that's what it that's how it is with me. I mean, well, I do read the instructions, but that's because I feel like I need to read the fine print with my condition and whatnot.
true.
It's like,
You're
okay, I
like
need to be very careful about what I do because I could accidentally order 2 or 3 of them, and then I'm
Mhm.
just absolutely screwed. And it's like, so I have to be
You've
careful.
been conditioned now to do that. So,
Yeah.
the other thing I was gonna bring up, so, I kind of what fancy myself the fantasy book nerd,
Hmm.
um, here as far as, like, novels and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
obviously. So, um, figured I would bring up another book series for anybody that enjoys sword and sorcery type fantasy.
Yeah.
Um, The Name of the Wind is the first book in the King Killer Chronicles, written by Patrick Rothfuss. Um, there's 2 books out in this series, and I'm gonna give you a little warning here in a second. But I'll get through first kind of the book's premise. So, main character, he's the book is written as he's telling a story to a guy named Chronicler in an inn that he owns, and it's about his childhood and his adventures as he grows up.
Yeah.
The kid is from a family that is like traveling, performing gypsies. So they're like a gypsy culture. They travel, they're all like into acrobatics, music, all this
Okay.
stuff, and they travel around to perform. Tragedy happens. He ends up an orphan, has to live on his own in a city, struggles, ends up going to this school where basically you learn a lot of the systems of magic that this world's built
Okay.
around, like artificing, and just a bunch of different stuff. And that's where the title, The Name of the Wind, comes in, because there's a type of magic, I believe, called naming. It's been a little while since I read this one,
Yeah.
but very few people can name things, and he ends up being one of the ones who can.
Okay.
And it's very musically oriented. So, I mean, you can see on the very front cover his lute. I mean, he plays the lute throughout the majority of the books. This is actually the 10th anniversary edition. It's got like
Nice.
the red edged pages on it. But for people who are like really into fantasy, but also are really into music,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. If you listen to this book on audiobooks,
Yeah.
there's actually versions where they'll play the music in the background to like give you the feeling of actual playing it. But the guy writes the songs that he's singing into the book. Like it's a very beautifully written story, and I like Patrick Rothfuss's style.
Yeah.
Now, here's the caveat for anybody who wants to pick up these books. So there's 2 books and I believe 2 novellas that go along with this series now. The last book was written in 2010,
Oh boy.
2011. So it's it was the same year that George R.R. Martin wrote the last Game of Thrones book.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting ever since
Yeah.
for the 3rd book in this series. And the writer, it's called The Doors of Stone. He's had multiple versions of it. He had to go back and rewrite big pieces of it. He's been working on these other novellas. So I've got my fingers crossed that Patrick's going to come through for us and announce
Not
this
leave us
book
hanging.
coming out. But even still, I think this book series does a better job of, I'm not as, like, I'm pissed at George R.R. Martin. Like,
Yeah.
and then they came out with that dog shit show, and then they left it with no ending, and then
Right.
HBO really destroyed it. Like, with this, I'm a lot more satisfied with the 2 books and the 2 novellas.
Okay.
Like, if he doesn't necessarily finish it, I'm not going to lose my mind. But with Game of Thrones,
I'm
I
still
absolutely hate.
dying to see what the Sand Kingdom is gonna do. Whatever.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So,
Dornish. I'm still like, dude, write your story. God.
Yeah, which I mean, to me, the show just totally minimized, and then
Absolutely.
totally left out the Greyjoys, like the
Mhm.
extended Greyjoy family. That was amazing. I will literally lose my shit on this stream right now talking about this, because Game of Thrones is the sorest subject with me in the history of the world.
Yeah.
But
I know that feeling.
even with us waiting on this next book, I would say my recommendations, check it out. It's certified Baja Blast fresh.
Nice.
So did you get anything?
Well, my headphones can't reach. I got this insanely huge box
Uh-oh.
from Zombie, who is demanding that I wait for him to open it on the show.
Well,
So,
that's
I haven't
that's
opened it
reasonable.
yet. As you can tell, it's still sealed. But
I've exchanged some of those boxes with Zombie before, so I know what's up. But
yeah,
I still got to get with him to see on the Stormlight Archive minis, having him paint some of the ones I really want painted, because they're getting ready to do a Kickstarter on the tabletop RPG. So like that book series is version of Dungeons and Dragons, which is what all the minis I bought was for. So I got to get the minis ready so then I can do a campaign on the tabletop RPG when it comes out. So I think the Kickstarter for it launches in August. So it'd be about a year from now. But I mean, Zombie does a lot of painting, guys, and
yeah,
you're very fortunate if you get pieces of his stuff in your collection.
absolutely.
So if you ever have the chance, anybody watching, you make sure you snag up something that's Zombie 13.
Yeah, hit Zombie 13 up. What was I going to talk about? Okay, so let me do this. Oh, Pop says he has something to unbox tonight, and I'm sure if you tune into that show, he's streaming live after us. Then yeah, he'll probably be opening it.
I mean, I got a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon to unbox after the show, but
yeah. So where is the okay? So in an effort to continue our talk, hang on 1 second.
I'm like just waiting here, just not knowing what's going to happen. Oh, what's this? Oh, I know what you're gonna hit on.
Headphones back in.
Yeah, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. So on Omega Level Toys.bigcartel.com, they have 20% off all Cosmic Legions, and you have to use the code FREESHIP 2024 at checkout, and you'll get free shipping.
And this might actually break me down to buy my first Cosmic Legion. So
I mean, this is,
you're not going to get a better sale than that,
right? 20% off, cheaper than retail. Yeah. So here's his guns. I guess he's like supposed to be the hero of the story, or of this arc. But then they also have really cool creatures like what Zombie was showing last week with the meatball looking head.
Mm-hmm.
And we got this Sphexian, which I have him holding his little guns, which are supposed to be, they can go anywhere. They have these little ports on their arms, and they can go anywhere on the body. But I have him holding his two little guns, his two little holdout pistols in his mandibles. His top arms up here. It's just like I just found that so funny, just to be like, you're just like, yeah, I got weapons and this.
Yeah.
It's just whipping out these two little guns.
Well, they're the perfect size.
Right. It's just, yeah, it looked so cool to just be like, yep, you got me covered, I got you covered, and then some. But yeah,
nice.
I thought this was pretty cool. This was one of the few I picked up from that first wave of Cosmics. And
I really want Slog, like the big booger dude. Like,
yeah, I got
he's beautiful. Like that's the one I think. I mean, this is not a line I'm going to go down a deep rabbit hole with.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson with Legions, that it got to the point where it was like cocaine. Like I was needing to grind them fuckers up and snort them to get high. And I mean, guys, I went overboard for a while. Spending a lot of money on basically used figures because you couldn't get them anymore. I mean, hundreds of dollars. And I got to the point where I was like, man, I want to pare it down to the characters that I just really wanted, because I was buying up anything I could get my hands on, which was kind of smart because I turned around and flipped a lot of those and made some good money off of it
Yeah,
to be able
yeah.
to buy the ones that I wanted. But with Cosmics, I'm going to pick up some, but they got to like be figures that blow my socks off for me to pick them up. And I think Slog's going to be one that I just have to have.
Yeah. Slog is really cool. Plus, there's a Kragnar with the forearm, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't got him yet, but I'm hoping I'll get one eventually. I just don't have the money right now, the funds
Yeah.
to be able to. I mean, because here's the thing: when it comes to toy collecting, you have to pick and choose.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard. It's a very slippery slope to just buy up everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
Well,
I got this is my case of highly articulated Dragon Ball Z figures that these move all kinds of crazy ways, and they just are so beautiful, and I love them.
It's like
And
it's like the Yamaguchis that I'm into, like the My Hero stuff.
yeah, which My Hero just got announced that they are going to be SH Figure Arts. So they're moving to SH Figure Arts now. So they unveiled the first. Let me see about pulling this up real quick.
I hadn't even seen that.
No. Instagram. Okay. Had to think about what I was typing. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll present and share screen. And we'll go Instagram, share, and then where profile, and then in here on Toy News, I have a little video. Let's see. How do I advance in this? Here we go.
If it's Instagram, you're asking the wrong person, bro.
Yeah, I can tell because
That's
I've
not
sent
my
you
thing.
memes, and
I have not logged into my like personal Instagram in 2 months now, and I was never in it before, even when I was logged in.
It's
'Cause
atrocious.
well, everything that I'm doing now is basically tied to my at Trash Pandas Junkyard on TikTok. So I have a Instagram account that's personal. I don't use it for anything. I do have one for this. I don't use it yet because everything I've been doing's through TikTok, and I'm getting ready to start streaming. Probably, I'm probably going to be on Kick streaming my Grand Theft Auto roleplay as my little crackhead. So if you guys are interested and you want to look at stupid videos on TikTok of a crackhead running around and just creating chaos, check them out. They're dumb. I mean, we do stupid shit all the time. So, but I am terrible at Instagram. It's never been my thing. It'll never be my thing. Like I'm a Facebook boomer, basically.
So here's Midoriya. Are you able? Are you? Oh, freaking
yeah,
A!
it's not pulling it up yet.
I didn't. Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sculpt looks amazing.
Yeah, and it looks very similar to things they've done in the past. Like I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but it's all right. It looks awesome.
Oh yeah,
to say the least. And let's see.
I mean, that's one I'll have to pick up because even though I have the Yamaguchi one, like still I love figure art stuff too.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of their turtles, and I really like their turtles.
And these look serious, like really cool. Where is the video? It's coming up.
Yeah, there's Probably the picture of him.
No, I'm back around. Good God. Maybe it's on the post. Dang it.
I mean, just from that picture of Midoriya, it's going to be a have to have.
Yeah, for sure. I know I'm super excited to see it in person. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like, it's just going to be so good.
I just don't think people give that show enough credit for how
Heck no.
good it is. I'm somewhat in a little bit of a lull with it right now because I'm stuck at the part where it's like Class A and Class B fighting, and that's just not the cool stuff to me. Them fighting against each other, I want to get past that and see like them actually fighting the real villains and stuff. So
Right.
I just need to sit down and just power through like probably 3 or 4 more episodes and I'll be good.
Yeah. It is really good. But I tell
Have you
you
said
what,
have you watched Demon Slayer?
I have not.
Another the art in Demon Slayer, I will not watch it dubbed because the voice they use for Tanjiro, the main character, is atrocious. So, and I watch anime like subtitled. I think we've talked about that. Like if it's in another language, I have to watch it subtitled. And so that show, just the art, because like he learns like there's different forms. They're almost like samurai, but when they fight, they have different, like one's water form, or it may be a different term for it. But like the animation around when he's fighting and like these water forms come in, it's just beautiful. And then when Rengoku comes in, who's a Hashira, he's like he knows the flame forms. He uses the flame forms. My God, during the fight scenes, just the art and everything is just amazing. Like, since you like My Hero, you would love Demon Slayer.
Yeah. I imagine I would. I mean, I just haven't sat down to watch anything yet. I was really excited to watch My Hero, but I don't have Crunchyroll right now. I'm not paying for that one right now. So, and I don't know. I'm fine with their voices, and I think it would be weird to go to like watching subs.
Now, see, My Hero, I watch it dubbed
Yeah.
because the voices don't bother me.
Yeah.
But Jesus, the voice they use for the main character of Demon Slayer is awful. Like, it's such a different experience watching it, like when Japanese people are speaking.
Yeah.
It's a little more serious and a lot less goofy for that show. Not every show's that way.
No, definitely not. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's something about Japanese folks that just like, it just sounds so like it's guttural and like, like I'm good. Every enunciation is good. I'm going to tear your guts out. It's just like, oh shit, this is real.
And that feeling almost doesn't fit with My Hero, though. Like, My Hero is supposed to be this like light and fun and kind of carefree show for the most part, and like the Japanese dialect's almost too serious for it.
Yeah, I imagine so, but
yeah,
that's why I like because Izuku his he's very like he sounds very timid, and he's just like, oh gee, I don't know, All Might would really do this, or All Might would really do that. And it's just like I find it like perfect for his voice. And then Bakugan, who's just like, die, Die, you bastards!
He's the best.
Yeah.
That dude is the best on the entire show. Like, oh my god, they always try to make him seem like he's turning that corner, like he's gonna stop being an asshole, and
Yeah, just
then
like
boom,
Vegeta.
he just blows up again.
Yeah,
Like, which is his power fits his personality because
definitely.
like he's explosive. His hands make nitroglycerin is his
Yeah.
power, and his personality just explodes. Like he's just
Mhm.
angry all the time, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. I'm really anxious to watch those. I'm wanting for them to hurry up and get it in English so that way I can
Mm-hmm.
watch it because I couldn't abide with and that's the thing, avoiding spoilers because I'm seeing
Yeah.
posts like people are posting about it like the next day or that night, and it's just like, oh dear God, no, and I have to like scroll fast. It's just like shit, move
Yep.
past. And it's just like, damn. But I've seen enough of it to be like super hyped. It's just like,
Yeah,
ooh, this
yeah.
is gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but okay, so I talked about those, talked about that, talked about the package. Do we have anything else? Have you been watching anything recently?
So I have finished some shows. I already talked about Dark Matter on Apple TV.
Yeah.
That show was fantastic. Um,
How many Mountain Dew Baja Blasts would you rate it?
it's so if we do a number of Baja Blasts, that's another good idea. I mean, it was at least a solid 4 out of 5 for me, which is a very entertaining show. If I give you four Baja Blasts out of 5, you are a very, very delicious show. To get that 5th one, it's gotta be just amazing, but
So
every episode kept me engaged. There was no break in my engagement in that show.
okay, so by comparison, did Shogun give you that 5th Baja Blast?
I would put Shogun probably in that classification, plus
Yeah.
because the subject matter is
Right.
something that just is
It's
one of my
very dear.
favorite things. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that kinda puts it up over the top, but
Right.
I mean, solid 4 out of 5
Nice.
Baja Blasts on the scale, and, it was really good. Really, the only other things that we're diving into right now is huge fan of Mayor of Kingstown,
Right.
which is Taylor Sheridan. I mean, this dude, everything he touches is gold.
Everything.
Yeah,
My
but
good God.
Jeremy Renner is so good in that show.
Yeah.
And this is season 3, you're starting to get more, at least they're leaning towards, it looks like, telling more about his backstory.
Yeah.
So that show's phenomenal on
Mhm.
Paramount. I do feel like there was something else though that I had just watched that I wanted to bring up last week, and now I'm drawing a blank on it. Damn, it
Yeah.
wasn't on Apple. I'll think on it. Maybe it'll come to me by the end of the show. But
Yeah.
I mean, I watch a ton of true crime stuff.
Mhm.
So from Dateline to documentaries to I watched an awful documentary on Max. I won't call it out by name, but my wife said this documentary was going to be so good. And it was about a lady who went missing in like 2009 from Hannibal, Missouri.
Okay.
And the story itself wasn't awful, but you know how, like, when a missing persons case, like, drags out, all of a sudden there's 80 theories about, "Oh, organized crime was involved. Oh, this
Mhm.
person did it because of this. Oh, it was a hit and run and they threw her out in a field somewhere." Like, this lady, the filmmaker follows this story from she starts in, I think, 2010 and has been working to find this girl until, like, 2022. So, like, 11, 12 years she's been attached to this, and the documentary ends up just becoming about her and the effect that it's having on her, and
Right.
I finished 6 episodes, but I was so fucking annoyed
Yeah.
with the filmmaker by the end of it that it became about her
Yeah,
that I
livid.
was I had a visceral reaction
Right.
of a bad day yesterday. I
Yeah.
think it was partly because of this show.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can
It
understand that.
was that bad. It was I mean, it was a well put together documentary,
Yeah.
but just the stupid shit, the stupid commentary, like, I was like, "This is dumb." Like, and I told my wife, I was like, "I don't wanna finish it, but I am gonna finish it because I can't leave it unfinished. But I'm gonna be totally pissed off at the end of it," and I was. 100%. 100%. But yeah, there's another show, I'll see if I can think of it, but and it was a good one too.
Well, you think on it. I'm just gonna say, Jessica says I love Mayor of Kingstown, and yep,
Mhm.
she does. She wants the Mayor of Kingstown merchandise, all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
sign posters, Jeremy Renner, and all that.
Oh, so
She even has a tattoo.
I know
She
what
even has
show
a
it was.
What?
So this is kinda off the wall for, like, the nerd fantasy group here, but if you've never watched on Amazon Clarkson's Farm. So Jeremy Clarkson is a huge British TV personality.
Okay.
So he's one of the 3 guys that started Top Gear, the British version of Top Gear. He's the really
Okay.
tall one.
Yeah.
He was the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in Britain.
Yeah.
So there's 3 seasons. Right before COVID, he bought a farm out in the English countryside, and it's about him learning to farm and
Yeah.
all these people that he kind of collects to help run the farm, who are all characters. And it is seriously one of the funniest shows I've ever watched. I just finished season 3. There's an episode where they get goats.
Uh,
And someone who's never owned goats, you may not understand, but if you own goats, you know, or knew someone who owned them, you know they're assholes. And this
right.
is a British TV personality who is very famous, very wealthy, out here trying to farm, and these goats just eat his ass alive. And if guys out there, whoever watches this, if you've never watched that show, at least watch one episode of it because it is hilarious. Like, I laugh out loud multiple times every episode,
I
and it
need to
takes a
find
lot.
something to write this on because
Yeah, because it's
I'm gonna have
great.
to watch.
There is a character on the show named Gerald, and his job is to rebuild the walls around the fields of the farm, like because they have a lot of stone walls. And the only way I can really describe him is it's like someone from Ohio or Indiana trying to communicate with someone from Eastern Kentucky or West Virginia. He speaks a completely different dialect that even another Englishman from London can understand. They never have they never can understand what he's saying. And the dude's awesome. He's my favorite character. But like, it's literally like, and nothing against people from Kentucky, West Virginia. It's just a different dialect that my Indiana brain doesn't always comprehend very well. And
Well,
it's the
okay,
same thing
it
there.
does take a minute to get your head around the words that they're saying, because I mean, my whole family is from West Virginia, and so I I was just down there last weekend. So yeah, I mean,
The
it's very
further
much
they
like
live up
you
the
have to.
mountain,
Yeah, you have to once you tune your ear, it's just like, oh yes, yes, I get
mhm.
it, I get it. Yep, that's funny.
Well, and the level of not being able to understand somebody is exactly proportional to how far up the
How
mountain
far
they
up the
live.
mountain they are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
or down in a holler too. That's
Mhm.
the other thing.
Yep.
No
And
matter
well,
down in a holler and
to be fair, Western North Carolina, it's Appalachia,
yep,
like Eastern Tennessee, like that whole area, you find that everywhere.
yep.
So, I mean,
What was the
Yeah.
name of that show?
Clarkson's Farm.
Clarkson's Farm.
It is hilarious. Hilarious. So, just a sneak peek. Very first episode. This guy is a car guy. Like, he
Yeah.
knows cars. If you've
Right,
ever
right.
watched Top
Top
Gear or
Gear.
The Grand Tour, which is their newer show that's on Amazon, he goes out and buys a Lamborghini tractor. So Lamborghini makes tractors. Well, this guy doesn't even know how to operate like an English made tractor. He goes out and buys a tractor that's all in Italian.
What?
Never drove a tractor before in his life. And then the farmer, another guy who farms near him, who's like a 20-something-year-old guy named Caleb, has to start showing him how to use a tractor to begin with, but also they have to navigate this tractor. All the instructions, everything's in Italian.
Oh my
And
god.
Caleb becomes a staple character, like the number 2 character in the show, probably
Really?
across all 3 seasons. And his interaction with Jeremy is just hilarious because he just rips on Jeremy for everything that he does wrong farming because the guy doesn't have any freaking clue what he's doing. So
that sounds like a good time.
it's a beautiful show, but it's not for everybody because not everybody likes to watch about farming and stuff like that. But it's less about that and more about this guy just having no clue what he's doing.
Right. Which is basic. It's like, I don't know. It's very much the equivalent of like what we do here. I barely know how to work the StreamYard system, and yet I'm out here doing it.
And I just show up and run my mouth because I know there's no chance in hell I'm probably going to figure it out. So I'm here for color commentary.
Right,
That's
right.
my role.
That's all we really need.
Yeah.
Anymore. Yeah. Anyway, but so that's good. Definitely wrote that down so I could check it out. And I'm not kidding. I actually wrote it down on a napkin because I don't even have freaking paper anywhere near me. Yeah, so yeah. Definitely wrote that down. Gonna have to check it out. And that was on Amazon, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's Amazon Prime.
Nice. That's so okay. I have recently been watching Bar Rescue.
No, I've watched a lot of Bar Rescue.
Yeah. And I'm just sometimes shake my head at those people. It's just like, are you kidding me?
Well, and I'm OG like Kitchen Nightmares. So I remember watching Kitchen Nightmares when Gordon Ramsay first started doing that, which all those shows are an offshoot of that same basic formula. Because
right.
I mean, that dude just go in there and rip people to shreds.
Right.
And John Taffert does the same thing.
Absolutely.
Like, he don't give a shit.
Right.
He'll just straight tell you you're fucking your shit up.
Right.
And
well, I mean, and he doesn't. He's just like, and then he backs it up with Bevantel reports, and he's just like, oh, you gave away how much money was this? Oh, $700. Oh my god, that's how much of it. It's just like,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, so, they'll say like overpours, like they'll sit there and watch, and they'll be like, "Oh, you held the bottle up an extra second. If you do that across every drink, this is how much money you're losing because of overpour." And I'm like,
right.
Jesus.
Right.
The bar restaurant scene will never be my thing.
Definitely
I would never be able to work in that industry.
I will never ever be able to do that because, like, I don't know. They're talking about people coming in and staying at the restaurant or whatever. That's what their goal was. But their goal was to get people to buy drinks and then move on. Well, I just went back to thinking about the time that my buddies and I would go to Applebee's for their half off appetizers. And I would order, because I was absolutely dirt poor at the time, but this was when we were in high school, and I'm still dirt poor, but still, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. So I would go in and be like, "Hey, can I get the free pickles and lemons?" And that's all I want. And so then they would bring out, but then eventually the servers, we would get to know us a little bit and laugh and joke. And I'd be like, hey, yeah, oh, can I have his refill? Only a Mountain Dew instead of a root beer? And sure enough, she would bring it out, which made us, we never tipped him. Like the majority of my bill went to just straight up the tip.
Yeah.
Which in John Taffer's world is like you're basically robbing the facility, robbing the Applebee's or wherever it was that we were at.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like because you're giving the tip to the server instead of the restaurant, and it's just like
them getting their cut of it.
I'm like, wow, I guess maybe that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did. But hey, how's it going? But yeah, all right, on to the movies. It's
we're 52 minutes in and we haven't even talked about a movie yet.
right.
Well, not true. I did make mention during the Mountain Dew conversation that one of these would not be five Baja Blasts rated. Actually, neither of them will be 5 Baja Blast rated, but one was significantly better quality to me than the other.
And I think I know what that one is, but so all right, so
we should probably start with that one. No, we got to save Warcraft for second.
All right.
We got to get Solomon Kane out of the way. Like, you'll lose me if we talk about Warcraft now. Like, you're going to start on Solomon Kane, and I'll just be asleep. Like,
what do you mean? All right, so Solomon Kane,
to give it credit, the story wasn't garbage.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the problems I had, and so this movie came out in 2009, to put it in perspective for people. I don't think it really had much of a theatrical release. I don't remember it having it. If it did,
it existed.
If it did, it was a very short run. So James Purefoy, I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in John Carter.
Yep.
So he, this was before, what is the series that he was in with Kevin Bacon? And he became fairly famous from that.
Yeah.
I always want to say The Killing. The Following. I always want to say The Killing.
Yeah.
So he's English. He's classically trained theater actor. Like, he has a lot of talent. He's not a big name at all.
No. He was also in A Knight's Tale.
Yes, he was in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
So this, to me, just starting out, it's already a movie that they went out and got somebody who's normally a second or third tier actor in movies. They're trying to make him a star of a movie. Just from the beginning of the movie, there's fantasy movies that I'll watch where the writing, the look of it, the feel of the scenes, the shots, everything will come together, and I'll be like, this is how this is supposed to be. So, like, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
The very first Lord of the Rings movie. Like, when I very first started watching that, I was like, wow, all of this fits together, like, perfectly. And this movie, I felt this discombobulation between the writing, the way the scenes were set up, the special effects. So when they're going into that castle at the very beginning and they're like, where's the throne room? Well, first of all, the way castles are laid out, typically it funnels you to the throne room where everybody meets. So they're like torturing this guy on the ground, basically. Like, where's the throne room? The writing and the dialogue in that part didn't make it made sense, but it just wasn't dynamic. And then the way they cut the scenes bothered me. Like, when they flipped the conversation, it was it was almost like it was very discordant, like it was a bunch of instruments playing nice sounds, but the mixture of them sucked.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where he goes in the room and he sees his breath, and all of a sudden, like, the black spirit thing starts coalescing, and it was the same quality as the scene in Ghost, which was from 90, 91, 92, of where the black things come out of the shadows and suck Willie, whatever his face is, down to hell. Like, the CGI of that stuff was horrible. And this is 2009, but if you
Yeah.
look at other movies from that era, and I'm probably being unfair because I'm talking like blockbuster titles,
Yeah.
not the video store, but like blockbuster movies of the
Yeah.
summer. It just, the quality was pretty piss poor, in my opinion. I think the source material is very good. I just struggled through this. I probably stopped it 10 times and had to come back to it because I just was so disengaged. And it was probably more just how it was put together,
Yeah.
how it was cut, and there's good talent in the movie. Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
The one guy, I didn't know his name at the time, but Pete Postlethwaite, he was in The Town, the Ben Affleck movie The Town, and played the florist. Like, that dude's a great actor.
Yeah.
But man, like, this one I just couldn't get into it. Like, there was just something there. And I know I'm sounding like a whiny bitch about this movie, but I was not a fan.
I liked it. I thought it was okay. To be fair, I was looking at it as this is just an old movie.
Mhm.
I wasn't taking into effect of like, okay, this is where it should be per the year it was released.
Well, that's
I
me
wasn't
just
really
being
thinking about
nitpicky
that.
because it started off on the wrong foot, so I probably had my phone out and was like, "Oh, this came out at the same time as this movie. That movie looks way better."
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it progressed, and I actually was engaged. However, Tubi is great for watching movies, but the ad breaks.
Oh, yeah.
It is just like, oh, an ad break, and you'd have to take out your phone and fiddle around on that, and it's back on. And I'll open ad break. Oh, it's back on. And oh, good God, that also, like, I on purpose watched Solomon Kane first.
Mhm.
That was the one I was most excited for because I don't know. I love the character.
Yep.
And
And that's where I say the source material, I think, is great source material.
yeah.
I just don't think execution for the movie was there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can understand that. But so anyway, I watched it on purpose on Tubi first because I
Mhm.
was thinking, okay, cool, we'll be able to knock this out, and then we'll watch Warcraft
Warcraft.
on Netflix where we don't have commercials.
Mhm.
And I kept anticipating that. Well, we had to downgrade our service to the ad tier. And I had totally forgotten about it. So I was all hyped, getting ready. It's like, yeah, we're going to watch this movie and there's not going to be ad breaks. Yeah. And then, boom, ad break. And it was even worse. It just made it so much worse.
So, sidebar here about ad breaks. No streaming service in the history of the world is worse with ad breaks than Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
So, it, like, goes up almost to the point where, like, on TV, there'd be the black screen for the ad.
Mm-hmm.
It gets about 4 seconds before that, it cuts to the ad, and then when the ad's over,
Yep.
It cuts back to the very end of that scene and then goes to the black screen. And when we're watching Mayor of Kingstown, any of the Yellowstone stuff, that we're watching that Special Ops Lioness right now, which I'll probably talk about next week.
Yes. It's getting to season 2, by the way.
Yeah, we just saw that.
Yeah.
But every time we watch it, like, it's so distracting just because every ad break is like that. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's like a little thing.
Yeah, I always like get thrown way off and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't where we're at. And it's like, so I have to rewind a little bit and then see that, oh, okay, it was just oddly cut. And that's where they inserted an ad break. And it's just like,
it's every one of them.
Yeah.
Every time,
without fail. It's just like, you're in this scene and they're in one room. And then all of a sudden, boom, it goes to another scene after the ad break. And they're in a completely different room. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not the conversation that cut off previously. And you have to rewind. And it's like, oh, nope, it was the end of that scene. And they cut to the new scene. But it's just so jarring. And it makes me mad.
Well, the way they film the shows is to be able to insert commercials. So why the hell is a streaming service don't you just insert the commercial where the fuck it goes when they film the show?
Yeah, that or just don't have them at all.
True.
I mean, we're paying. The whole point of cable and streaming services was so that you didn't have to sit through a commercial. And now we're not only watching a commercial, we're fucking paying for it.
They're making money on top of the subscription fee through advertisement.
Right. It's just infuriating. It drives me crazy. But that's another subject altogether.
So what else you got on Solomon Kane? Like, what do you think?
I enjoyed it. As I'm sitting here, I'm forgetting a lot of it.
It's very forgettable.
That's because I watched it so long ago. But
so I started it on Sunday, and it took me until Wednesday morning to finish it.
Oh, geez.
That's just indicative because I'm a movie fan.
Yeah.
Typically, I can sit and just watch something end to end. Like I can watch Snyder Cut end to end, 4 hour plus movie.
Right.
I couldn't do it. Like this is what, an hour and 44 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
I just kept having to cut it off and
come back to it later. Well, I didn't find it that boring. I was entertained, but I will say it makes me wish that I had the money to buy Mezco's Solomon Kane figure when it came out.
True.
And it's just like, oh, that would be so cool to have. And it's just like, but I don't. And it's like,
Here is the financial performance of the movie.
Okay. Hit me.
$45 million budget. It grossed 19.6 million worldwide.
Oh.
Yeah, so it didn't even recoup half of its budget.
Yikes.
Now, obviously, years down the road, 15 years later, with what it's made off streaming services and all that, it's probably paid for itself, but movie studios need capital from one movie to pay for the next movie. And this shot a big hole, at least in their plan of probably some B movie that was coming out next, which probably sucked. And then the hole got bigger. And then probably the studio, not the parent studio, folded and someone bought it out. And people lost their jobs and, kids went hungry. Like this movie fucked up so many people's lives that, I mean, I can't even talk about it. I'm trying to see who the actual studio was that did it.
I don't think it was MGM, but
where the hell does it say it on here? I don't see it. I probably have to dig for it, but I'm sure it was like, you know, Cyclops pictures or something off the wall. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't see it on here.
Let's see.
Production companies: Davis Films and Wandering Star Pictures.
Yeah. Well,
Not
no
two that
wonder
I'm
Wandering
super.
Stars is no longer
Oh, so
around.
yeah, so that this put them out of business.
Yeah.
We know that's what happened.
Yeah. I don't know. I just really really enjoyed it. I'm probably more lenient of movies, but that's also because of my perspective.
True.
And I don't know. So yeah, I had to actually go back and refresh my mind just looking at the pictures, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what happened. It was a little rough in places, but overall, I think it was cool.
Here's what I would say. If you're going to have rough places in a movie, make sure it's not the first 20 minutes. Hook your people, and like I felt like the first 15 20 minutes of this movie, and I'm not your normal person sitting there watching a movie, like I critique some stuff pretty far.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen so many movies, like, am fans of so much stuff. But I think if you're gonna have a dead spot or a drop in quality, do it like in the 45-minute to probably 75-minute, like that half an hour there.
Yeah,
Start
I'd have to
strong,
say,
finish strong.
yeah, you definitely it has to be after the first act. You need to get through the
Mhm.
first act so that way you're invested in the characters and the story
Yep.
enough to want to go into this lull before you get to the big battle.
Yeah.
So,
And I like how your mom calls out, gonna no more stink bombs.
yeah.
That's of course,
Yeah.
which, I mean, we're getting
I know.
ready to transition to a subject where I'm gonna get really pissed, but it's for a much different reason than why I had issues with this movie, so
Yeah, and all right, so on to Warcraft. Uh Man,
I'll let you
it
start on this one.
yeah, okay, so I liked it. I mean, it had absolutely stellar cast. I
Mhm.
mean, Ragnar, it was just Clancy Brown. I mean, there are just so many good characters. Plus, I mean, they had the one guy who was in X-Men and Punisher,
Oh,
and all
yeah.
that. What was his name? Solomon? No, not Solomon. That's the wrong movie.
Uh, Let me see if I can
Something with a
find him.
K and an S. Or it's probably not.
Is it Robert Kaczynski?
No.
No.
Uh
Yeah, I don't see any of that
oh,
stuff from his.
Warcraft. IMDb. There we go. Yes. Oh, it's Ben Foster. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so Dominic Cooper and Ruth Nega were both in it. And they were both on Preacher, and I thought they were great. Although Ruth's part was kind of lacking compared to her role in Preacher.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I I think this was a good movie, but my problem with it is that they spent so much time setting up a future for a movie we don't even have.
So, 100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that about this movie. That it does a lot of world building and setting
Yeah.
up storyline. Like, obviously, this movie leads up to Thrall. Like, well, it doesn't lead up to it. It shows the birth of Thrall, who is one of the biggest characters in World of Warcraft of all time, and probably one of the most successful eras of World of Warcraft. And we didn't get anything after it.
Is that Garona's?
That's the little baby
Yeah.
that
They
he
sent down the
sends
river?
off in the river. Yep.
Dude, okay, so they set up she's pregnant. Then, they set up that now they're gonna mail it down the river like
Mhm.
baby Moses, all that, and it's just like, I don't know. They spent so much time building on a future movie that wasn't guaranteed. They
It
thought
was
they were gonna
not.
have they thought it was gonna be big, but the gaming community just hated on it so much.
Well,
And well,
one piece of the gaming community, and I'll
yeah.
explain that here in a minute
Yeah.
because I'm about to get real pissed.
That
But
definitely upset me. But I will say it was very predictable at times, because it's like I knew Ben Foster was going to be the
mhm,
ultimate bad guy. You could just tell they had it set up, and it was very foreshadowed, almost too heavily foreshadowed that this was
mhm.
going to happen, to where it it wasn't even like, it was just predictable. It's like, all right, well,
Yeah.
but I, overall, I still liked it. I thought the characters were interesting, and I wanted to know more. And that's where I felt they could have expanded a little bit more on those characters instead of
Mhm.
setting up the next film that didn't ultimately come, which is
Yeah.
again frustrating, because like you were saying earlier when we were talking, it's like they could have easily set up and done multiple different films and offshoots from this, but yet it didn't happen.
Yeah. And so one of the things with World of Warcraft and the lore, so Warcraft has so much lore. I'm talking
Yeah.
volume. I mean, you're talking this was Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, and even I believe there was a third game, Warcraft 3, were all real-time
Yeah.
strategy games, but they had
Yeah.
very dynamic, built out lores that supported those games.
Yep.
So you have all this kind of mythology, all these other
Huh.
characters, and then all of a sudden,
Weird. Star Wars is doing the same thing.
well, we're gonna cross streams with Star Wars here in a second too. Um, so Warcraft has this massive amount of lore and backstory before
Right.
World of Warcraft, the game, even comes out. So if you
Mhm.
guys didn't know, World of Warcraft dropped probably 2003-ish time period. I was a junior in college. Might have been 2004. Um, and it took a real-time strategy game, turned it into a massive multiplayer online
Yeah.
role-playing game. And it was really the first time that you could run around online with your friends and
Right.
explore a new world and do quests together and fight, and it was really an online Dungeons and Dragons-esque type
Yeah.
adventure. You
Very
could build
much.
your own character, spec them out. You guys all go quest as a party, run dungeons, run raids, do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so when this movie was in production hell for a long time, because you're talking 12 years from the initial release of World of Warcraft until we finally this movie was talked about so many different times in those 12 years
Yeah.
happening. Directors signed on, directors
Yep.
signed or left,
Yeah.
writers signed on, writers left. Oh, we got a script. Oh, we don't have a script.
Yeah.
So, and that typically takes a toll on a movie when it gets to its final version, especially if you've gotten concrete scripts and stuff that then are going through multiple rewrites, which this one did.
He-Man too.
Yeah, exactly. And so they finally assemble a cast, a great cast. Travis Fimmel, Haida Vikings, Ben Foster, he's been in all kinds of stuff. Alpha Dog, like he is a great actor. Dominic Cooper had been in a lot of different stuff at this point. Preacher, he'd been in multiple movies. This was about the time he was in Dracula Untold. So just Toby Cabell has been in a ton of movies, who played Duratan. So this is a massive property. It is a lot more massive outside the United States than it will ever be inside the United States.
Right.
And part of that is just statistically. China is the largest country in the world, the most population, and China loves this property.
Yeah.
We could never, in any way, shape, or form, try to compete with being bigger fans of World of Warcraft than China will ever be. And so this is where I get a little bit pissed. The movie, it tried to set up I want to say they were talking about a trilogy that was going to be the story of Thrall. Thrall is basically an orc. He's born. You see it in the movie. They send him down the river. He ends up becoming a slave. And then eventually he gets his freedom and then frees the orcs and eventually leads the orcs. And he even transcends that and becomes like the most important shaman in the history of Azeroth.
So like the one dude who was carrying the staff that kept talking all the
but much
better than that.
Badass. And the stuff that Thrall can do. I think that was the wrong approach for your first Warcraft movie. You've got plenty of Warcraft lore that you could do that necessarily would have the look and the feel, but it would be a one volume movie. You could do a movie about Illidan Stormrage, and Eric Bertram will kill me for this, but I'm forgetting the dude's name. There's a paladin that's super important, and I just can't think of it right now because I'm very rusty on my Warcraft lore. But you could do some of these very cool movies that were like precursors to World of Warcraft. And then if those are successful, launch into a trilogy of Warcraft movies once you've established that these are going to be hits. And unfortunately they just didn't do that. I agree that they tried to set up a little too much, but this was a movie.
So is it Turalon?
I don't think so. I'd have to look it up.
Tryon Fording, Uther the Lightbringer.
I'm pretty sure it's that one.
Urel.
Yeah. So
I just googled famous paladins Warcraft.
Yeah, I would have to go back and brush up on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and a lot of that's told through through flashbacks in the actual World of Warcraft game. And shit, I've been out of it for over 10 years at this point.
Right.
So this was a movie I couldn't help but really like it when it first came out. And I noticed this trend. A lot of people in the United States malign certain properties, and then I end up enjoying them. Like I don't align with the normal crayon eater that goes to the movies. I have a very specific taste. Where I'm really pissed off is this is a property that made a good amount of money. It didn't make money in the United States. So it did, I think the budget, what'd we say, was 200 or 160 million.
Yeah.
It only grossed in US and Canada $47 million. So it was maligned here. but worldwide, it did 2.5 times the budget. It did 440,000 or $440 million, which for a studio, you're more than doubling your money. I get that it's not Avengers.
Yeah.
It's not, these big 800 million to $1 billion movies on a $200 million budget. Like, I get that you didn't hit it out of the park, but if I'm an American studio, China just pulled me out of the toilet and made this movie a success.
Right.
Why am I not making more movies in this series to make money off of? Now,
Right.
this is where I'm going to go totally nerd on everybody here. There's an opportunity cost to time. If they take the time to make that movie, do they miss a bigger fish that they could have been using those resources to make? That, I'm not a movie business expert. That could be something that goes into it. But still, to me, somebody has to see that this is a market
Mm-hmm.
and at least make another World of Warcraft movie. It doesn't have to connect to this one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the positives of this movie for me, the feel of it was World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
The look of it was World of Warcraft. It had some very good emotional scenes. So
Definitely.
the scene where Travis Fimmel, he jumps out of the tower and lands on his griffin.
Yeah.
And then when it shows him fly in when they're about to kill the king, and him and his griffin are like the only two defending him.
Right.
Like, to me, that shit's badass. Like,
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps thinking about it. Like, to me, that was a very powerful scene. And like, when I watch that movie, the wait is worth it to just see that one scene. And I have tons of movies that there are scenes like that in. Armageddon has one.
Yeah.
That, like, at the end of the movie, when they're taking Ben Affleck down to, like, he's going to stay on the rock, and all of a sudden Bruce Willis rips off his patch and rips out his air hose and sends him back up and takes his place. Like, that scene makes the movie for me.
Yeah.
Because it's a very emotional, like, scene, and Warcraft has a couple of those with his son getting killed, and then that, and he has to sit there and watch his son die because he's on the other. Medivh throws up that barrier.
Yeah.
Like, those are some pretty deep scenes that arouse some pretty deep emotions, and like, all of that to me was positives of this. I just think, like Star Wars, who does not do good in China, but they do so well here that they can justify keep making garbage properties that we're just going to see for the rest of probably our lives, because Disney's a shit show.
Yeah, don't get me started there.
The thing is you've got something like Star Wars. It's such a big monster, it can self-sustain.
Yeah.
Based off old property and all that they can just weather this storm of bad content. But their fan base is fucking toxic. Like, let's just put that out there. We saw it when the prequels came out. You and I are of the prequel era. We loved the original Star Wars, but we really love the prequels as well.
Yep.
But there's a lot of fans that are older than me they're totally toxic towards the prequels.
Yeah.
I feel like the fans of World of Warcraft were so toxic about this movie that they shot themselves in the foot of ever being able to have a serious Hollywood representation of this property ever again. And they can only blame themselves.
For sure.
And that's why they're assholes.
Well, okay, so this makes me think a little bit. Just a little bit. But what about Warhammer? Like, how do you think Warcraft is going to affect 40K?
So that's why I think they're taking the approach with 40K that they are. First of all, they found the biggest nerd
Right.
Warhammer 40K nerd
Yeah.
to
Henry
be
Cavill.
basically the runner of the entire property. He's going to be the Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Or who was the guy at Marvel, Feige or Fiji or whatever his
Feige.
name is, Feige. He's going to be that for the 40K universe.
Yeah.
He's obviously going to be heavily involved to get the feel and the culture and everything started with this first series. Where I think that they're making the smartest decision is they're doing episodic content.
That's fair. That's fair.
World of Warcraft, the stories are too big to do a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
This story should have been told in an 8-episode season, an 8-hour season.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think they could have gotten more ground with it too.
Oh yeah. And I think 40K, that's the advantage that they're going to have, is that they're going to be able to tell a wide sweeping story. I mean, I've got right here the first 7 books, 5, 6, 7 books in the Warhammer 40K universe. There's like 300 more.
Right.
So, I mean, you want to talk about World of Warcraft has lore.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 30K, which is 10,000 years before 40K.
Right.
So, I mean, this is actually 30K right here because it starts with the Horus Heresy and then ticks up. And just, I think 40K, going the episodic route, having a baptized nerd of your property who just geeks out over it.
Hopefully they don't do him as dirty as Netflix and DC did, though.
Yeah, true.
Because I mean, if they alienate, I personally think that is the best decision that they've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and the fact that it's episodic, like you were saying, but just the fact that they're getting someone who has this passion, they need to understand that he has this passion for the lore, and they really should take advantage of that. They shouldn't be spitting in the face of it.
My hope is
the whole thing they did with The Witcher.
Yeah, well, my hope is obviously in contractual negotiations, Henry's team took that into account and negotiated for provisions to keep that from happening. I think the difference with that, though, too, is The Witcher's a great property.
Yeah.
Fun video games, great books. I don't know if Henry Cavill is as invested in Witcher just in general to the degree that he is in 40K.
No, I wouldn't say he is,
but
to
he
the same
fought,
degree, but
he was hired as an actor for that show.
Yeah.
Where now he's going to be a producer with a lot more control.
Okay.
And
well, that's good. I didn't realize he was a producer, so
yeah, he wanted to keep Witcher totally like true to the source material, and of course the showrunners doing what showrunners do. Game of Thrones, now The Witcher, we could name a plethora of other shows.
Right.
They just shit on the source material and the fans that made that source material successful. Like, I feel that I am justified in my hatred for HBO with what they did to Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
Now, with House of Dragon, I could care less because you know what? The book landed barely before the show even started. I had like 9 years of Game of Thrones books before when I found out about them. I think they're even older than that, but I found out about them 9 years before that show started.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Somebody could fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure. And so it really fucking pissed me off the way they did that story because I've been a fan. Same thing with the Wheel of Time. Like Eric Bertram tells me, season 2's better, but I have such a bad taste in my mouth about season 1 and how they left off the path of the original story that now I can't bring myself to watch any more of it.
Okay. Well, for me, the biggest part of that was I've only read the first book, um, and I don't even think I got to fully finish it because I had to return it early or return it on time. But the biggest part of me going into the second season is they changed one of the characters
Mm-hmm.
and they
Which
switched out one of the characters.
unfortunately probably had to happen just because of a personal conflict or
Right.
something.
Yeah. But it still was jarring enough
Oh
that it's
yeah.
just like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
you're not the same person that we just saw 5 minutes ago because we watched him back to back. And it's just like, wait, it's like, all right. But it took me a couple episodes to wrap my head around it. And then it's like, okay, that was okay. That was decent. Thanks for participating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, you guys are sitting here in a couple episodes listening to me bitch about Game of Thrones. So here's all 14 books of
yeah.
Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
One of these books is the Russian version of the first book. So, like, I'm a big fan of Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
I am nowhere near probably as big a fan as Eric is, but I've read all of these books multiple times. I've listened to them on Audible multiple times.
Yeah.
Um, the last 3 books, who are written by a different author because the original author died,
Died. Yeah.
my favorite book series is because I read these and then I checked out the Stormlight archive. So, like, I'm so entwined in Wheel of Time so much further than even Game of Thrones because I think Wheel of Time blows Game of Thrones out of the water.
Really.
Except for there's a section of books called the Slog that are hard to read.
That
But
takes a while to slog through them.
yeah, there's 3 books in a row that it's just there's so many storylines going on, and they're not necessarily the most interesting that he has to tie up before he gets
Yeah.
back to trying to finish the series. They're just hard to read.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
get it.
why I eventually went to Audible and just started listening to the stuff because it's easier someone reading it to me to get through it.
Yeah,
But
you don't find yourself falling
no,
asleep
because I usually listen
when
while
you're
like
reading the book
I go
anyway.
out and walk and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I'm sitting there reading it, I'm like, yeah, nodding off or
Dozing off.
being distracted or
Yeah.
something. So my hatred for the Wheel of Time series is way deeper than
And
my hatred for Game of Thrones.
yeah.
I just at this point I'll bring it up, but I just won't get as animated. Like, I mean, because people were ready to kill me back when like season 3 of Game of Thrones dropped and they
Yeah.
really started to change the story.
Right.
And I lost my shit. I'd be at work at Lowe's, and all of a sudden, like, dudes would come in and be like, "Oh, did you catch Game of Thrones last night? It's amazing, blah, blah." And I'd just be like, "Okay, well, this is all the bullshit that wasn't right with that episode." And they,
Right.
in the break room, they wanted to murder me. And I'm like, the only reason you like it is because there's gratuitous nudity. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Probably.
these people had never read source material, nothing. They were just getting their jollies off watching, scantily clad women or no clad women.
Yeah, I mean, it was so much more graphic
Mhm.
in the books. But of course, I don't know if that's just a side effect of you're reading the words, so you're processing the words one at a time, and then
Mhm.
that's echoing in your head over, and then it's just like, oh man, that's wow,
Well,
that was
you're slowly forming a mental picture
right,
versus just seeing a 5-10 second
right,
scene
yep,
on TV.
yeah,
And you're like, yeah, like how many ways can you describe someone's penis? Like you're
yeah.
reading 3 paragraphs about, you know, Theon
His
Greyjoy's freaking wee
his
wee.
meat
Yeah.
slapped his thigh, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, come on,
I'm just yeah,
right,
like I'm probably going to run off people from the show because I have such strong opinions about this shit, but I always just tell
everyone does,
people like if you want to defend Game of Thrones with me, at least go read the source material.
right,
Story is so much better.
absolutely.
So much better.
All right, Any last thoughts on Warcraft?
Definitely would watch again.
Yeah.
It's probably like the 4 out of 5 Baja Blasts for me. It's not perfect. I think it's a lot better than it got credit for.
Definitely.
And it's definitely worth a look. And I think it's definitely worth studios rethinking their strategy and
Absolutely.
revisiting a property that at least outside the United States would kill it.
Yep.
But
Absolutely. And I mean, I still find those characters like interesting. Like I
oh
want to go
yeah.
back and revisit those characters or rewatch it so that way I can process. Okay, some of their names are like really weird and hard to
Oh
pronounce. It's
yeah.
like it's like connecting the dots slowly. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
that's because of this person, that's because of this person, and then it's like you're slowly making the connections. And at least for me, it was slowly because I'm just like, what?
Yeah, and it's like a typical fantasy property.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the names are weird
Hmm.
and you've got like Anduin Wren, who's Lane Wren's son, the king. Um uh or not Anduin Lothar, which is Travis Fimmell's character.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think what the little boy's name is, the little Wren boy. Um I can't remember off the top of my head, but um yeah, it's weird. Like when I start reading a new fantasy series, sometimes I get characters mixed up just because of their names and stuff like that.
I've actually had to sit down and write out character lists or look up online like who's
Hmm.
related to this character and then get a full like idea
Yeah,
of who's who.
yeah.
But
But there's so much more content there in that world. If they would ever do a movie about Wrath of the Lich King,
mhm,
and do like his origin story, like Arthas Menethil when he's a little kid and how he eventually becomes the Lich King. Dude, it would be a fucking fantastic story. It would be a
yeah,
success. But this one movie, the way it was received by its own fan base in the United States, is literally shitting on the ability to do anything else. And that's
yeah.
why I think World of Warcraft fans are some of the biggest pieces of shit on the planet.
I agree. But that's not because I have any personal vendetta against them.
I
All
mean,
right, we need to pick out movies for next week.
so
Do you
I did see one that is one I haven't seen.
okay?
I don't know how I never saw this movie because it's one I always wanted to see. So Push. So
Okay.
2000 another 2009 movie, Chris Evans, Dakota Fanning. It's a basically a superhero movie because he has powers
Yes.
in it. I've
I remember
never
seeing
seen
that in
this
theater.
movie. I've never seen it somehow. It's
Yeah.
slipped through the cracks. That's one that I would suggest because I would be interested in seeing that.
Um,
Um,
what about
it's on Tubi.
Tubi? Okay. Um, okay. So let's see. Trying to think what was the movie I was I said Shining. What was the other movie? You're talking about Brightburn.
Yeah,
But
I don't think we saw anywhere where we would have
yeah.
access to it.
Um, let's see. No, gotta go here. Type 2B. 2B. Okay, quick movie. Come on, come on, come on. I have been rewatching all of the Fast and Furious movies because I know that there was somewhere I missed a movie.
Well, I stopped after a certain point. I watched after Paul Walker died,
Yeah. I'm not even
but
to where Paul Walker died yet. I've
I
seen
think I watched the first Charlize Theron movie was the last one I saw, I
mm,
think, where like she gets Toretto to work for her, like
okay.
against his will. Because doesn't she have the baby? She has his son
I have
or
no
something.
idea.
Yeah, I think that's the last one I watched.
Have you seen let's see. I'm seeing things that I haven't seen. So let's see. I'm just going to go down a list. Yeah, we talked about that. Elysium. Have you
Is
seen that?
that Matt Damon?
Yes.
I have seen it, but it's I mean, it's worth us watching. Have you seen
Okay.
it?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, I think it's one that you would like. It's I can't remember
Sci-fi.
if it's Neil Blomkamp, but you know the movie Chappie and District 9.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that style, and it may even be the same. It may
It's
be,
directed by Neil Blomkamp.
yep. So it's part of that. It's part of that universe.
Yeah,
So I love District 9. Like,
I did too.
I wish there would be a follow up to that. I
I
actually
have
really
not seen
enjoyed
Chappie
Chappie.
though.
I really enjoyed Chappie. I like Chappie,
All right.
but Elysium's good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's at least worth the watch. I mean, I guess after I rewatch it, I'll be able to tell everybody if it's good, or I'll just bitch for an hour.
How do Elysium, and there's a space for next week. Push and Elysium for next
Okay.
week.
Is Elysium
Both
on
are on
Tubi as
Tubi.
well? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll come back next week after watching those movies and either bitch about them or praise them, or maybe a little bit of both, or none of the above.
We'll know how many Baja Blasts we would give it, or how many I will drink trying to get through it. Like Solomon Kane was probably 15 Baja Blasts because it took me so many times to get through it.
Yeah. We're okay. So just to give you perspective, we're trying to come up with a system to rate these movies on. And I think we all have varying opinions of them. So I feel like, and then you have to understand us as a human being. Like if we say Baja Blast, then that's like a gold star. So then it's like a star system. But I don't know. We're trying to come up with something.
We'll figure something out.
We're figuring it out, and we're gonna get back to you on that, and we're gonna go back and rate all the other movies, and hopefully there'll be a graphic to update our opinions.
Nice.
But we'll get back to that another time. Until then, I'm going to play us out, and we have been part of the madness.
Madness.
Let's see. Where's the video? All right. Till next time.
Who am I, you ask? I was created in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the waste of a dying world. I was bestowed with an insurmountable task: bring peace after decades of death, persecution, and chaos. I am a grandchild of war, destined to help two camps which hate has fueled for far too long. Surprisingly, I am not alone. Have an odd bunch to make the road a little more bearable. Come with me to bring hope where there was despair, respect where there was resentment, creativity where there was destruction. I am Pinocchio, and this is my story.